All right, well, welcome back to the iWealth podcast. Today I'm with Kristin Gunsolus from Jones Law Firm here in Mankato, and she's an attorney there. And I want to talk to her today about like working together as a team. You know, a lot of times you've got the attorney giving advice, you got a CPA giving advice, you got a financial advisor giving advice. And, you know, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've learned working together seems to work. But what's your take? Like, how does this best practice, how does it work when you sit down within a couple to do an estate plan? Let's say they're married, have a couple kids, they own a business, and you know have a $5 million net worth. Well, how should you look at an attorney? Should this be siloed, or how do we best work together? Like, what's been what have you learned? What do you think?
In my opinion, it is imperative that all three of these advisors work together along with the client. No, I don't think it should be a siloed approach to planning. Estate planning, financial planning, taxes, it is so intertwined in so many ways.
Yeah.
And especially when you have, you know, small business clients or clients that own real estate, you know, things like that. Inevitably, something you can do in the estate plan could have negative or adverse effects on the tax side or you know, from a financial side. So it's so important that everybody's working together toward a common goal instead of, you know, each doing their own separate plans and no one's talking to each other.
Yeah, I've learned, Kristin, that like if I'm going to recommend a Roth conversion, I want to go to the CPA and get the CPA to sign off on that Roth conversion. One, just to cover my rear end, but also that two minds are better than one. And so to get that in there. Same thing if I'm going to change beneficiaries or I'm seeing an issue with one of the children not doing well with money, saying, wait a minute, can they take their $2.5 million inheritance and handle it? Like bringing back in the attorney. Same thing, like have you come across some of the same issues?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, like I said, they're so connected. You know, an attorney that's going to draft a trust and then send like an IRA through the trust or something like that might have no idea what the tax consequences of that are. So it's so important to have the financial advisor weighing in and the accountant. Ideally, you know, I like to have, you know, a meeting where you have all these people on the phone or in the room or
Put
whatever.
them all in one room.
Yeah. You know, meetings, it's almost every meeting you're going to have questions come up that need to be addressed by one or the other of these advisors. And so you need all of them to be working together. Yeah,
I totally agree. And that kind of, my mind just went to family meetings. I'm sure you've had these too. What I've learned over the years is that if, you know, again, let's say you have two children, business owners, but they're not going to be traded equally. Like one's going to get the business and one's going to get like the life insurance policy. If dad and mom are the ones to deliver that message in a family meeting, there's a lot better chance of them having Thanksgiving dinner together when mom and dad are gone. And so have you had family meetings as well?
Yeah.
And how have those went?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that it reduces the chance or potential conflict down the road if there aren't surprises. You know, if everybody knows, you know, these are mom and dad's wishes, this is what the plan is, this is what's going to happen, it's less likely that they're going to hate each other after mom and dad are gone. You know, a lot of times you see it, mom and dad are the glue, they keep the family together. And then when they're gone, you know, if they haven't planned or people are surprised or, you know, thought things were going to go one way and they go a different way, a lot of times that'll result in these siblings that will be at odds with each other. Yeah,
you'd rather have your kids mad at you, dad, for not being nice and not treating them equally, right? Than being mad at their siblings 20 years from now when dad's gone. Yeah.
I think so much of it is just open communication. Communication between, you know, the advisors, communication with the family, making sure everybody's, you know, again, working towards that common goal of what mom and dad's goals are and how do we make them happen the most efficient way.
Yeah. So, you know, typically as financial advisor clients, they'll meet twice a year or whatever with their advisor. They'll meet at least once a year with their tax advisor. They should be meeting with them in like November, December to get ready for the year end. How about attorneys? Like if they sit down with you, you know, in 2024 and they put together an estate plan and things get aligned and you work with the CPA and the financial advisor, how often should that person be back in your door checking in with you without the advisor saying, hey, go see Kristin, just as a checkup? What's the rule of thumb
that's
there?
a good question. And again, it depends. But for most people, if you've done your plan, you've properly aligned your assets or funded your trust as needed, your advisor's on board, knows what's going on, so they can kind of keep you in check with those types of things annually. 5 to 7 years is probably fine. Now, if you have an estate where you're teetering on an estate tax issue or monitoring, the asset or the value of assets, or you have family conflict or a divorce or a move or a death of a child, things like that, you're going to want to look at it more often.
Okay.
Some firms will do like a maintenance where you can do an annual review with an attorney. Again, for a lot of people, it's not necessary to see the attorney annually, but it just kind of depends on the individual.
Okay. Yeah, and I like that. If there's a life event that happens, right, or tax law changes or something like that, then get back in front of the state. And that's why it's important to work with the CPA, work with your advisor, work with your attorney, so that you're kind of getting that whole kind of holistic planning kind of put in place. Yeah,
as far as, the big kind of planning events, typically I'll see, it's like a three times in your lifetime. When your kids are young, you plan for what happens if we die, who's going to raise the kids. Then the kids, they grow up in their early 20s, young adults, but still not quite at a point where you'd be putting them into management roles of your estate matters. So you'll probably do an update then, midlife, and then a lot of times you see kind of that parents are 70s, now we're planning for how do we make this as easy as we can on the kids, avoid probate, those types of things. So a lot of times you'll see it kind of in those 3 stages.
Interesting. Well, the big takeaway here is make sure you're working with all your trusted advisors, your accountant, your financial advisor, and your lawyer. Make sure that they're working together so that you have a holistic plan put in place. So, Kristin, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Have a great day.